With us now from his home in Southern California is the creative force behind the cult series Buffy the Vampire Slayer and its spin-off Angel, the man who married teen angst to the monster movie and dared to put a Western in space. Joss Whedon joins us, and welcome to Talk of the Nation.
Hi, thanks for having me.
Buffy, of course, was a movie before it was a TV show, but did you consciously set out to create something that might be interpreted as a cult?
Yeah, I would say I did. Not a cult in the sense of being exclusionary, just a cult in the sense of the kind of show that people respond to more viscerally and imaginatively than they do to just their everyday sort of decent fare.
We should point out one of the great things about both those programs, Buffy and its spin-off Angel, is the voice, if you will, of the whole show. The balance of humor with intense drama. We have a clip from a scene in Angel in which the main character, a consciousness-haunted vampire, mentally prepares himself for battle.
I'm not ready yet. Too many years spent sleeping in soft beds, living in a world where I don't belong. I can't fight them. Not yet. But soon.
Dramatic, heavy stuff, Joss Whedon, but the shows also carry a lot of laugh lines. How do you find the balance?
You find it in yourself. You respond, I think, most writers write like fans, and when you start getting tired of the turgid, you make a joke. And when you feel like the stakes aren't high enough, you try for the heart. You find the balance just in your own conversations, and you definitely see it. Too much of one thing on the show, it makes you want to go in the other direction. And it started out as a mission statement. Let's have all these things happen at once because they do happen at once, and horror makes jokes funnier. If you put something in the context of I'm expecting a joke. Mm-hmm. It puts more of an onus on the joke than if you put something in the context of drama. So from the start, this is what we wanted to do, but we found, that it was basically easy to balance because we wanted to, we found the rhythms in ourselves.
What were the models? Obviously, beyond the vampire, works.
The models, I think I heard Hill Street Blues mentioned. Wise Guy was a very big model because of the villain arc concept. Not knowing if I was going to get to make more than the 12 episodes we were originally picked up for, I sort of completed the villain's arc, and I knew coming into season 2 I didn't want the same guy to rise again and constantly be going, this time I'm really going to defeat Buffy. I mean it this time. No, I'm not messing with you. This time it's going to work. And I wanted to create a new bunch, and that was Spike and Drusilla, and then that sort of became the paradigm. Every year, we found a new arc and a new basic message.
Do I hear in the background a couple of Slayers in training there?
What you hear in the background is my 1-year-old son, who I am taking care of today.
Well, we'll ask him to not destroy anything vital for the next few minutes. We're going to take a short break and return with more of your questions and phone calls. Our number, if you'd like to join us, is 800-989-8255, 800-989-TALK, or you can send us email. Our number, the email address is totn@npr.org. We're speaking with Joss Whedon, the creator of, among other series, Buffy the Vampire Slayer, and Roberta Pearson, editor of the new book, Cult Television. In Washington, I'm Neil Conan, and you're listening to Talk of the Nation from NPR News. This is Talk of the Nation. I'm Neil Conan in Washington. We're talking about why some television shows develop cult audiences and the power these programs have for both their fans and their creators. You're invited to join us, 800-989-8255. That's 800-989-TALK. Or email us, totn@npr.org. Our guest is Roberta Pearson, editor of the new book, Cult Television. She joins us this hour from Cardiff in the United Kingdom. And still with us from Southern California is Joss Whedon, creator of several cult series, including Buffy the Vampire Slayer and Angel. And, Joss, we have an email question for you from Eleanor in Portland, Oregon. Why do networks continue to develop cult TV shows when it so often seems like they don't appreciate the audiences that these shows draw? They aren't happy with the ratings and don't let the shows fully develop.
Wow, that's a good question, and I've been asking myself that a lot over the last few months. I think, that they know there's a core audience there that will that will respond in a way that they won't to other shows. The biggest movies, hit movies, have all been fantasy movies. They know there's a market there, and when it works, when it really hits, it contains a lot of ancillary markets, like, not a lot of people playing with their practice dolls. Point of order, no, I object.
Is there a Law & Order comic book?
I don't think so.
Yeah.
At least I haven't read it. It'd be pretty exciting.
There is a CSI comic book, though.
There is a CSI comic book.
There is.
They're trying to sort of push into that market, but I think that's what they're looking for. And if they don't get the numbers they seek, I mean, there are plenty of dramas that fall by the wayside every year too.
Sure.
There's everything. They'll throw everything at the screen because they don't actually know what they want.
Yeah, Roberta Pearson, let me put that to you. We should point out that Angel has just been canceled.
I've heard that. That's terrible.
Are we in a is this a pendulum? Are we in a down period now, or is this a permanent decline? Do you think?
Well, it's a little hard for me to tell since I'm not as ochre on with American television as I should be. I think what Joss had said about the networks trying everything is certainly the case. When I was in the States in January, I saw some clear Buffy ripoffs, including one that starred one of the Buffy stars, in fact. And clearly the idea of a kind of magical, powerful girl was something that the networks had decided that was going to work. The problem is that occasionally something comes along, and has often been said about Star Trek, it's like catching lightning in a bottle. It's a combination of the moment. It's a combination of the creative personnel. It's the way they work together. It's the way an audience responds. And there's something almost mystical about that. In fact, it's something which we scholars have a hard time accounting for. In fact, if I could account for it, I wouldn't be a scholar. I'd be out in L.A. earning a lot of money. So I think that most shows that get on, well, most shows don't get on air in the first place. Most
Right.
shows that do get on air don't make it very far. And as Joss says, the networks just keep throwing up things in the hope that they'll work. I think there are certainly cycles. I hate to say this because I have friends at Paramount now, but I think Star Trek is kind of in decline after almost 40 years. It may come back. It would be interesting to see whether Angel and Buffy have that kind of staying power, and whether in 40 years or so we'll all be sitting around talking about the Whedon vision.
Let's get another caller on the line. This is Tom, who's with us from Heidelberg in Germany.
Hi, I'm Tom Reese in Heidelberg, Germany, like you said, and I know that these shows are popular over here, Buffy and of course Star Trek, and I know that there are Trekkies and stuff like that. I don't know, I've never met any people that are into the cult of Buffy, but I was wondering if it's more Americans that are into the cult part of it and going to these conventions, or how popular it is in other countries. And also, a second part of the question is it maybe because Americans are so mobile in almost every aspect of their lives, do they need to latch onto a cult like a religion?
Joss Whedon, is that something you've thought about?
Well, Buffy is enormously popular in Europe. In England, it's a major thing. Actually, in Germany, the soundtrack to the musical sold as much in Germany as it did in the United States. There is something about American culture that spawns these things, but they seem to speak to, I would say, more than just Americans. I would say pretty much everybody, if they're actually speaking at all. A lot of genre shows are just sort of going through the motions, and here's a magic trick, and here's an alien, and here's a fight. Obviously, Star Trek was, the real precursor in terms of, like, the Twilight Zone, which I think also needs to be cited as a real influence of using science fiction to really give a message, to investigate something, to talk about social mores and stuff, which people need to examine, in that fantastical way, so they can really distance themselves enough from it to get into it, whether it's a social or an emotional issue. So I think that the need for fantasy is universal.
Let's get another caller in. This is Chuck in Pressat, Germany. A lot of calls from Germany today.
All right. See?
Hi, this is Chuck.
Yes, you're on the air, Chuck.
Super. I have a question for Josh. I have become a fan of Firefly sort of way after the fact. I had moved to Germany before the show ever came on, and a friend of mine back in the States sent me a couple of videotapes. And you're talking about Star Trek earlier as cult TV, and Star Trek, of course, was canceled way before its time, but sort of came back and flew again. My question for Josh is, why do you think Firefly didn't fly?
And let me preface his answer by explaining Firefly was the aforementioned Western in space, and a good thing you only got a couple of tapes because there were only a couple of episodes.
Well, actually, I bought the DVD set, and we've got all of them, including the unaired ones.
Okay, Josh, go ahead.
First of all, you're a great man of our time. Second, why it didn't succeed on the network, is it would be subject to many interpretations. Amazingly enough, mine has entirely to do with the network and nothing to do with the show. They didn't really want it. They had no faith in it. They put it in their worst slot. They refused to air the pilot. They never aired more than 3 in a row. They didn't advertise it. When they did advertise it, they advertised it poorly. They did everything in their power to sort of give it the stench of failure, and then they canceled it before it ever had a chance to get its footing. So really, it was kind of untested.
The whole thing about running the pilot, 2 episodes after
they aired it last.
Yeah. Well, it was really weird. I didn't quite understand that.
Well, what happened there was very simply was a bad match. Fox wanted to be hit in the face repeatedly. That's kind of the way they make television, and some very good television. But the pilot of Firefly, Serenity, kind of took its time. It had more of a sort of slow, laconic kind of build, so you could get to know all the characters. That does not fly in the Fox universe, in their paradigm, at all. So they just couldn't understand it.
We know we have to let you go, Joss, but I have one final question, and that involves your next project, which, as I understand it, you're going on to another pretty well-developed fantasy universe. You're writing for Marvel Comics.
Well, actually, I'm doing 2 things right now besides finishing Angel. One of them is that I am actually filming the movie of Firefly called Serenity. So, like Star Trek, that has found a new life, which is really exciting to me. And then, yes, I am taking over one of the X-Men titles for Marvel Comics for a year, simply because that's another huge influence on me and a childhood dream.
Well, Joss Whedon, thanks very much. Good luck with both your projects and with the ongoing story of raising that 1-year-old.
Thank you. Hope you didn't hear too much about that.
Joss Whedon is the creator of the cult series Buffy the Vampire Slayer, Angel, and Firefly. He joined us from his home in Southern California.